When you normally talk to people about veganism, what they'll say is that it's permissible in principle to eat animals, but they think that for us to be morally justified in eating animals, the animals have to be given a good life. So animal cruelty, animal mistreatment isn't justified, but so long as the animals sort of live an idyllic life in the pasture, then if we end up killing them, that's not such a bad thing. Now, we can argue about whether that view is justified. But if it is, it turns out that nearly all instances of meat eating are immoral. I'm going to argue that so long as you think it's wrong to cause others lots of pain and suffering for the sake of small benefits to yourself, then nearly all meat eating is immoral. The animals that we eat undergo months or years of excruciating agony. The animals that raised for in the egg industry live in these tiny, filthy, feces-ridden cages where they're unable to turn around, where they can't walk properly, where they're constantly rubbing against metal mesh. The baby male chicks in the egg industry are systematically ground up by the industry because they can't lay eggs and are thus useless for the industry and are not the right kind of chickens to lay eggs. The chickens that we eat for meat are bred to be so large that they cannot comfortably move around, so they lie on the floor in feces and filth. If they try to stand, it's painful because they're so large, and if they try to move, they're constantly against this acidic and filthy feces that causes them to have leg burns and that causes them constant pain. So no matter what they do, they're in constant pain. The overwhelming majority of pigs have pneumonia by the time they are sent to slaughter because they have to live in so much feces and filth that most of them get lung diseases. They're kept in these tiny stalls where they're unable to turn around. They're killed in gas chambers where they're locked in a gas chamber and their throat burns as they slowly suffocate to death. It's a really horrible way to die. Across every single instance of the animal agriculture industry, there is grotesque and horrendous cruelty. Nearly every animal that we eat, 99% of whom come from factory farms, lived a horrible life of intense suffering. So given this, so long as you think that you shouldn't cause animals needless suffering, so long as you think that you shouldn't cause animals to endure lots of suffering for the sake of a meal, then it's wrong to eat meat. It takes for every meal of meat you eat, that animals had to suffer for multiple days for it. For example, if you have a chicken sandwich, animals had to suffer for multiple days causally as a result of the chicken sandwich in these filthy, feces-ridden factory farms where they had these horrible lives. The animals in factory farms are subject to constant mutilation. Chickens have their beaks cut off, which is filled with nerve endings, so it probably feels roughly having your nose cut off. Pigs and cows are castrated without anesthetic. The ears of pigs are part of it is cut off for identification purposes. Cows are given third-degree burns for the purposes of demarcating them from other cows. All of these things are horrendous cruelty. All of these things are what we would not hesitate to call torture if we were doing it to people or if we were doing it to dogs. So as long as you think that extreme, horrendous cruelty shouldn't be inflicted on animals for the sake of a burger, I would suggest that at the very least, nearly all meat consumption is seriously immoral and should be stopped.